Well, my name is Connie Pillich. I'm running for state treasurer, the most important office that nobody ever talks about. And I'll talk about it tonight. I want to tell you a little bit about me and a little bit about the office and what I think some of our challenges are. I live in Cincinnati, but I was born in Buffalo, New York. I grew up in a small town. I'm the youngest of 5 children. It was a working class area. Most of the dads in my neighborhood worked at the steel plant. They were hardworking men. And when I was in high school, I went to public schools. My mother was a teacher. And when I was in high school, the steel plant closed and many families were affected by that. Most of the dads lost their jobs. It was devastating to our community. And we saw that happen across Ohio as well. There was no opportunity for a girl like me, but my mother and father strongly encouraged me to go to college. We had no money to do that. I'm the youngest of 5. There wasn't money for kid number 1, let alone kid number 5. So I decided to join the Air Force. I was also stationed overseas. I served in support of Operation Desert Storm, and I landed in Cincinnati where I met my husband Paul, and we raised our 2 children, Kayla and Talon. Now while I was on active duty, I was promoted to the rank of captain, and I also got my MBA. And after my children were born, I graduated from law school in Cincinnati, and I practiced about 13 years, including banking law. And I'm running for treasurer. Now, in 2008, I was elected to the Ohio legislature. I sit in the House of Representatives. I won a seat that had long been held by Republicans, but I'm a Democrat. So I really upset things then, and I put a political target on my back. In 2010, they sent the founder of the Cincinnati Tea Party to run against me. Has anyone heard about the Tea Party? Yes. Okay, you're all right. Well, they sent him to run against me, and let me tell you, it was a tough race, but I focused on the issues my constituents cared about. That was jobs and education. And at the end of the night in 2010, I was ahead by 5 votes. Now, after all the lawsuits, I picked up a couple hundred, or about 600 more. So for me, it was a great victory. For my opponent, a very narrow loss. In 2012, they redrew my district to make it tougher. They made it 56% Republican. But again, I focused on the issues that my community cared about, jobs and education. And like my colleagues on the ticket, John Patrick Carney and Nina Turner, I was out in the community. I knocked on 24,000 doors by the time it was all done. And I'm very proud that in a 3-way race, I took 52% of the vote. So, you know, these experiences that I tell you about, serving in the Air Force, you know, I was 17 when I showed up in my first ROTC class. I served on active duty for 8 years, right out of college. This shaped me as a professional. I learned that there's not a Democratic way or a Republican way of doing things. There's just the right way. And the right way is to put people first. I'm so glad that Fatima said her vote doesn't count, because I hear that all the time. And those of you who have been politically active here at MOPAC, you know that people say, why should I vote? Let me tell you why. And I want to go back to 2010, and I want to say this mainly to you, but to everyone here. In 2010, I told you, when all the votes were counted on election day, I was ahead by 5. 5 votes. 5 votes kept the founder of the Cincinnati Tea Party out of the state legislature. Can you imagine putting someone like that in such a powerful position, what that means? But because I had friends who were out on election day, and of course many days beforehand, but on election day, knocking on doors, reminding people, it's election day, have you voted yet? We literally got 5 more people to vote on election day. The last one was at 7:20 p.m., 10 minutes before the polls closed. That changed the election. So I implore you, don't think your vote doesn't count. The only way we make a change is if everyone gets out and casts their vote. Because the only way we can get people elected who reflect your values, who look like you, who think like you and who care about things the same way is by exercising your right to vote. There's a cost with every decision. The decision if you don't vote, there's a cost for that. If we hadn't gotten our 5 votes, I wouldn't be here. There's a decision if you provide lunch at a meeting. There's a cost to that. There's a cost if we look at the treasurer's office now. We look at Josh Mandel, who's the treasurer, the guy who ran the ads that were very anti-Muslim. There was a cost to that. And there's a cost to letting him keep his seat. It could have long-lasting costs because he wants to run for higher office. But it also has immediate costs because he handles all your money. So I think we need to make sure that when we vote, we try to find people who have integrity, who have, in this case, we need someone with an eye for detail, who cares about doing the job, who wants to do the job. Because what it all boils down to at the end of the day, when you go to bed tonight and you lay your head on the pillow, you should be able to rest assured that there's someone who's protecting us, who's fighting for us in Columbus, who's going to safeguard your tax dollars, take care of your pensions, and do everything she can to grow the economy. And that's the commitment that I bring to you. I would love to have your support.
I have 2 comments to make, no question. 4 years ago, I wrote an open letter to Josh Mandel telling him that I would rather vote for the devil instead of him. And the simple reason for that, he did in a paid political ad smear 2 local Muslim citizens here of Central Ohio and accuse his opponent of being a Muslim, which he wasn't, he was Christian, as if being a Muslim is liability. I'm happy and delighted that you were endorsed, you told me, by more newspapers in the state of Ohio than Josh Mandel is. And you can assure this Air Force veteran will devote his vote for you as well as my family. And I hope urge the other to do the same, because you show what it takes when you sit at the stage.